Hi everybody, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Ignite. With me today, I've got Faisal Hoque, who is it's his second time on the podcast. But we're going to be talking about this book, Transcend: Unlocking Humanity in the Age of AI. Faisal, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so much for the book. Really loved it. So,
Thank
where
you.
can people find you?
FaisalHoque.com or anywhere on the internet, or many places
You're
on the
pretty
internet.
easy to find, I must admit.
Yes, I think pretty easy to find. And you can always find me every day on LinkedIn.
So, so tell me, what was the inspiration behind this? Because there's a lot of talk about AI at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, last time I was with you, we were talking about reinvent. And as I was finishing reinvent, that was, I don't know, now almost like 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, I felt like that there's a special focus needs to be on AI, and more specifically, the the possibilities and the danger of AI in for humanity as a whole, and how it's going to redefine how what humanity means today, and it will mean 5 years, 10 years, 30 years from now, and what it really means for the businesses.
Because just going off piece a second, but I think it's relevant. I mean, I just saw an article in my inbox, which was basically someone saying we need to stop all of the development in AI. There's so much money going in, and we need to stop because we don't know where it's going. And I
Yeah,
think it's because we see that there's something to do with machines and computers and nothing to do with humans.
yeah, and and the other reality is, look, as you saw in the book, and you have to really understand that when we talk about AI today, it's primarily we're talking about generative AI, and then we started talk quite a bit around agentic AI, and then there's a lot of conversation around the general artificial intelligence, and there's also talk about the self-evolving AI. But there's a history that goes way back before all this. There's predictive modeling. Or the RPA, or robotic automation processing, whole series of stuff that happened prior to that. So you can't just say you have to stop, or you can't just say let's start from scratch. I mean, you can't just you know you just can't drop all the legacy stuff that we have grown up with and somehow just replace it. It just doesn't work that way. So it's a little more complicated than just saying go with it or drop it.
So how do you define humanity, and why do you think we're losing it?
It's getting harder and harder, to be honest with you, because when I was writing the book, that was almost like 3 years ago. Me and my research team, we did a lot of homework, and we argued that, well, humanity is something that's has ability to feel, touch, and have empathy. It's not just about cognition and logic, but a lot of the AI stuff can do feel, or emulate feelings and emulate empathy, and even the if you look at a humanoid robot, it can touch, right? So, um, where I ended up, I wrote a piece very recently, I think 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks ago, which kind of doing very well around this notion of human beings are contradictory. They're messy. They're complicated. They're not. One minute they're logical, next minute they're not logical. That's hard to replicate. I think this messiness is what humanity is, and there's a beauty and opportunity in that messiness. If you look at artists, scientists, they're all kind of these messy, complicated human beings, not always easy to understand, not easy to live with, etc., etc. And that's where I think humanity is. Humanity is not simple. It's not a straight line. It's not black. It's not white. It's gray, and it's complicated. And that's the beauty of humanity.
You also say that you describe AI as a tool and a mirror of human behavior, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are feeding it, and it's feeding it back. So all the bad stuff, it will behave badly, and all the good stuff Hopefully, it will, because where is it going to get the data? I mean, there has to be. It can't. I mean, you can argue now that it does derivative logic and derivative stuff, but it's still getting the base thing from somewhere. And we've kind of seen that in a like a that whole notion of algorithm manipulation and whatnot from social media, and you see certain thing trends, or even your stuff. You look at certain things and it kind of follows you with those certain your behavioral pattern and your likes and dislike and feeds you. So there's a baseline information and data is still the human society. So what it will become, you know, I think it's very much reflection of humanity. Now there is a counter interesting argument that has been in science fiction for a long time, and it's growing in the sense that people say that look, they're going to be better because if you think of protection, if their prime directive, if you think about Star Trek vernacular or those kind of genres vernacular, that they will be focused very much on protecting the humanity. So it will help humanity from self-destruct. I don't know how true or false that's going to become, but there is a body of argument that as we lose ourselves, maybe they will be the protector, but who knows?
So what should leaders be doing to ensure that AI arguments humanity then?
Look, it really boils down to at a very fundamental level, governance, right? And you have to kind of dissect who owns AI. It's not like each one of us own AI. There are the platform vendors, where we are kind of like they are really the controller in many ways
Yeah.
because we're giving them the data. They're pushing, they're giving back us whatever the answers we're looking for. Then there's the business organization that are beginning to use these different kind of AI, or it also creating their own small language models and all other things. And there's the consumer, and there's also government agencies and government, right? So each of those players have different kind of responsibility, and each of those players have different type of governance mechanism that you can apply. So if you look at government, which as you remember, I do a lot of work with government, and there's a lot of work that's been going around, not just on legislation, but also on guardrails in terms of implementation of AI. Anything from biased data to like protecting people's identity, having a fair and even capital market, et cetera, right? But the vendors, meaning the platform vendors, also has opportunity, responsibility in terms of how they collect our data. There's already lawsuits on IP, stolen IP
From authors, there's been a
authors
number
and
of
stuff,
yeah.
and so as a person who nonstop creates IP, I mean, I don't want my IP to be stolen by machines. So there's different levels of, and then there's the ethical and responsibility on businesses, how you utilize it. Like, so for example, if Amazon starts pushing a particular type of product because they have a special arrangement, and every time I look for a shoe, I only see Nike, that's not a fair practice. There are other shoe companies that would probably like to show their show their shoes, right? Not just Nikes. So there's different level. I guess what I'm trying to say is that what businesses should do is have that governance, number one. Number two is that, I wrote an article recently about that, the case for human resources versus automated resources. Anything and everything that's efficient doesn't mean it's effective, right? So you can't just all of a sudden it's cheaper, it's a less messy to manage. Therefore, I'm just going to automate the heck out of businesses. That argument doesn't also. It may work in the short term, but it won't work in the long term. Nobody wants to go to restaurants. I think, at least I don't. That's staffed with a bunch of humanoid robots.
Yeah.
I want to fed by a real chef, not some robotic thing that just manufacturing stuff from based on other stuff. So there's this protection of human resource governance, and then really focusing on effectiveness. The measurement should be effectiveness and enable of humanity, not just efficiency and profit gain, right? So those are, in an idealistic environment, those would be the three different things that every business leader should focus on.
One of the things that there's many things, but one of the things that I love about your books, Faisal, is that you always come up with a framework.
Yeah,
Because as humans, we like to have some form of structure. I agree with you. One of our uniques is the fact that we're messy, but we do like structure. We convince ourselves. And you talk about the book provides a unique perspective that with the intersection of philosophy, humanity, business, technology, guided by 5 principles, which are purpose, flexible, partner, safe speed, and cultural changes.
Yeah.
Do you want to just talk us through that?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's what we did. We actually looked at it. Look, AI is a huge opportunity. So how do we really, benefit from that opportunity and elevate? In the reason transcend, we're not talking about transcending AI. We're talking about transcending human beings, each of our potential to the next level, utilizing AI. So how do we do that? So we came up with a framework called Open that basically adhere to those 5 principles to look at opportunities. And Open, the first letter O stands for opportunity, and then it goes to N in terms of how do we navigate those opportunity with exploring different kind of investment risk and the impact that it can create. But we also came up with a framework that's focused on governance and responsible uses of AI called CARE. And CARE stands for governing based on those 5 principles that you just outlined. And the first word, C, stands for catastrophize, meaning come up with the most catastrophic scenario you can create when you exploring this opportunity, and then dial back and explore how do you de-risk those catastrophic scenario and have a kill switch, at the end of the day, where you can exit from these type of experimentation and programs. So I certainly don't want to be, whether it's a medical field or whether it's defense, whether it's businesses, all has these opportunity to completely, create mess that we can never undo, right? So you have to be conscious of how do you go about exploring that opportunity. So we came up with a CARE framework that basically prevents you from going basically derailing, right? And it boils down to basic human qualities, dignity, empathy, the upholding equal rights, etc., etc.
So in terms of the CARE framework, you've got the C is as you described, which is a rigorously map out potential scenarios, paying particular attention to possible downsides. Then the A is assesses, which is evaluate the likelihood of the scenarios, identify uncertainties, and analyze existing capabilities for dealing with the risks.
Yeah, that's right. So you're coming up with, at the end of the day, Tim, it's like coming up with a portfolio, and then coming up with the opportunity portfolio, but then also coming up with the risk portfolio. And each scenario you have to basically assess, decide which is going to have the biggest impact or which is going to have the biggest risk, and then basically navigate through those opportunity or exit the most risky scenarios, right? So it's having an opportunity portfolio and a risk portfolio simultaneously, and then rationalizing what works and what doesn't work. And go at it like you don't have to boil the ocean. I mean, I think a lot of these AI initiatives are failing. It's not just because of technology; it's because it's too much or too little, not enough thinking, and not getting everybody on the same page, not alignment around the organization and its purpose. So a lot of that is around the culture, organization, leadership, management, not necessarily around technology, right? And uh, that's been the case with almost every technological evolution that we have gone through. But this is particularly different because it's not just another technology. It has ability to think and do and assist and derail and misinform and etc. etc. etc.
I think I remember reading, one of these articles about how you roll out AI, and what everyone said. What you need to do is you give everybody AI, and now people are kind of saying, well, you kind of shouldn't actually do that. But if you don't do it, they'll go and find it anyway. So, but the and then I actually did an AI LinkedIn course yesterday. And it was really interesting. I'm just trying to absorb everything to do with AI as I'm sponging it all up. And again, it was about 1 minute we're telling people you need to be giving people AI, but the next minute it's you need to be really careful. But if you don't give it to them, they'll go out and find it. So as a leadership, I still think there's a confusion about what we should be doing. I'm starting to hear you just said governance. Governance has to be.
Yeah, you have to have AI policy. Just like think about it. I'll give you a different example that we kind of gone through in various various iteration of this, right? The device guidelines or device policy at workplace, right? So bring your laptop, don't bring your laptop. Here's the organizational organizations sanctioned laptop, et cetera, et cetera. But in the meantime, people have been using mobile phone, laptop, desktop, whatever the case may be at home, right? So I don't think you can stop the usage of AI, whether your organization uses it or not. And many of us have been, not many of us, almost like I would say more than 50% of the global population, or more than that probably, has been using AI one form or another because of the mobile phone, GPS, online ticketing, etc., etc., etc. Right? So we have already been exposed to AI, and what's different now is that now you have a natural interface, which is really the generative AI. So the opportunity is easier because you're not talking human language, not machine language. So it's easier to interact, and it's more democratized, right? So the more people are going to end up using it, and so that really for the leaders, what's important is to have an AI policy that says these are the acceptable behavior of utilizing AI at workplace. Imagine, assuming that the organization don't have AI platform or tools yet, right? So that's where it begins, right? Because I mean, if you're a writer like I am, every publication you publish to already have AI policy. HBR has a AI policy. Psychology Today has AI policy. Fast Company has a policy. Your publisher has a policy. Schools now are beginning to have policy around AI, et cetera, et cetera, right? So there's nothing wrong with using AI as an assistant, but if you start outsourcing yourself, then there's a danger. I wrote a piece actually last week that it just came out about harmonizing the businesses with same tools, same language. Then you lose the authenticity and you lose competitive advantage. That applies on an individual level as well as the organizational level, right? So organizational leaders has to be thoughtful about thinking about competitive advantage and the loss of cognition and uniqueness of humanity to maintain competitiveness and develop a AI policy for their workforce.
So we've had two comments, Faisal. Thank you. Evelyn Rulin basically says we ought to embed dignity, equity, and pluralism into the architecture of AI. Thank you for that. And Andrew Slesser basically says, like social media, does it fall back to people using ethically and not using the keyboard warriors who will rant about anything?
It's let's take the first comment. I 100% agree with Evelyn. You have to embed dignity, equity, and pluralism, because that's where uh, the unbiased data gets created, and you're conscious about what you're doing to other human being, and you're conscious about what you're consuming based on biased data, right? So the 100%. Going back to social media, I mean, so social media, I mean, hopefully we learned the lesson, what we have done to ourselves with social media on an individual level and a social level and in a geopolitical level. And if we think that social media had a negative effect because of we didn't govern it the way we should have, and we also let ourselves go in terms of our behavior, somehow it's easy to rant and shout on social media than you would do to your neighbor, but people, that's what people do. I think AI has maybe 1,000 or 1,000,000 times more negative effect because of the fact that it's amplifies a lot faster, bigger, and you have more opportunity to be a nefarious character and a rogue agent than you would be with just plain algorithmic, the basic algorithmic manipulation of social media and behavior amplification.
Faisal, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your book, Transcend,
Thanks.
Unlocking Humanity in the Age of AI. If I wanted to buy a copy, where could I get one from?
You can get it any bookstore, meaning Barnes and Noble, Amazon, or other online places. They're available in ebook, hardcover, and audiobook, and all 100% of the book proceed goes to cancer research. So
Yeah.
if you buy a book, you'll be doing a little bit of good, hopefully.
And it goes to cancer research because you have a connection, doesn't it? It's not just
yes. I have a. That's correct. I have a cancer surviving son.
Yeah. And where can we get hold of you?
Again, faisalhoque.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I post something every day and share this, generously. I don't need anything.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, you're a person that people should follow because I mean, you've given a whole number of examples of great articles that you write, and it's adding to the debate and education of people. So thank you so much for that as well.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you.